In the month of October and in November, the central banks doubled their 12-month moving average. But they've already been buying more over the last 4 years than anyone has ever seen. But the second part, all these countries, Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Argentina, I can keep going, you can see it for yourself. Every single one of those countries have repatriated their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. The one thing I do believe, after all the research I've done, and I spend 3-4 hours a day, 7 days a week, literally doing nothing but scouring the world for information, is that a reset is coming, period. Some way, somehow, a reset is coming. So as we go through this, just keep that in mind, right? I'm not saying that's my viewpoint, but I'm open-minded to all viewpoints. And if we don't look at things from every side, we've learned nothing over the last 4 years, much of which was a lie. So have we fallen into a debt trap? I mean, how big is it, right? Everyone says $36 trillion. Trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. You had Neanderthals stalking the plains of Europe 1 trillion seconds ago, which we're now creating $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. But that doesn't take into account Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and government and military pensions. Medicare Part B is $99 trillion underfunded. No one ever talks about that. Part D, the prescription's 22. Social Security, 77. We're $200 trillion in debt. 200 or more. And so when we talk about this last paragraph there, this typically happens when the debtor is only able to pay the interest on the loan and not the principal. The Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan think tank in Washington, says by 2031, all of the income tax revenue will go just to pay the interest on the debt and the mandatory entitlements, all of which are off balance sheet. So think about this. How does the United States remain the military superpower when military spending is discretional? You got to borrow that, right? So think about what I said. Is there a reset coming? What is President Trump known for in the private world, right? Restructuring, bankruptcy, fixing companies that need to be run through restructuring. Could it be that Francis Hunt was right, that he was selected, that the last 4 years of bizarro world was thrown at us along with the lame duck challenger so that he would be thrown into office by everyone wanting our culture back? My mentor, Richard Russell, used to say 20 years ago, the Fed has but two choices, inflate or default, right? Inflation, which is the path that we've always chosen, inflate away our debt, or just simply default. Is that really what we're going to do? I would argue inflation is the path that they have chosen, 100%. It is the path that they have chosen. But what if there is another path, right? I just want to think out loud here. Could there be a way to inflate the currency and make it less painful than outright hyperinflation created by the Federal Reserve? I don't know. How about this one? Gold revaluation. Now, you can't make this up. Every central bank balance sheet on the planet Earth, guess what the name of the account is where they hold gold? Guess. Yes, you got it. The gold revaluation account. That is the name of it. It's held in the gold revaluation account. You have the head of the Dutch National Bank that has been screaming about this for a very long time. Revalue the gold. It's at $35 an ounce on our balance sheet. We cannot, under current laws, offset our liabilities with our gold holdings. And so what if we were to revalue gold to current numbers or even revalue it higher? You have a member of the Bundesbank saying the same thing, and it gets closer to home when we look at Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming, who spoke right after President Trump did at the Bitcoin meeting in Tennessee, who advocated for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. She came up and said, let's revalue the gold held by the Federal Reserve on behalf of the Treasury to a number high enough to use some of the proceeds to pay for the Bitcoin. Or how about Judy Shelton, who I just interviewed? Judy Shelton says to me, Andy, we're going to issue 50-year treasuries redeemable in gold. And we talked about it, she said to me, in Trump's last administration. She was his nominee for the head of the Federal Reserve, who wasn't confirmed, but she'll probably be on the Board of Governors this year. She wants to have 50-year treasuries pegged to gold. She said to me, Andy, I believe he will issue them on July 4th, 2026, which is the 250th year anniversary of the country. And I said, Judy, why haven't they audited the gold held at Fort Knox of the New York Fed? She says, well, it's a lame answer. They say it costs too much money. It's logistically challenged. But that's a bunch of crap, she says. We're the United States of America, for God's sakes. Let's just spend a few $million and get it done. I said, damn right, Judy, let's do that. I couldn't agree more. I said, Judy, are they going to revalue the price of gold? Because it is held in the revaluation account. And she, with tremendous articulation and lots of big words, more or less said yes, it would be in the vested interest of all the central banks to revalue gold, because after all, the most powerful bank on the planet, first and foremost, reclassified gold as a Tier 1 asset. So the Bank of International Settlements does not do things just for the hell of it. Let's get that first and foremost deep in our brain. It's the most powerful bank on the planet. Why wouldn't they make Bitcoin a Tier 1 asset, or SDR, special drawing rights, or something other than gold? Why would the most powerful bank in the world say, by the way, y'all, gold is now a Tier 1 reserve asset, on par with U.S. Treasuries and U.S. dollars? Why not? Because there's something in store for it. That I do believe 100%. And when you see the amount of gold the central banks are buying, it's off the charts. In the month of October and in November, the central banks doubled their 12-month moving average. But they've already been buying more over the last 4 years than anyone has ever seen. But the second part, all these countries, Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Argentina, I can keep going, you can see it for yourself. Every single one of those countries have repatriated their gold from the Bank of England and the New York Fed. Now, the reason they left it there all of these years is because it gave them direct access to the LBMA and to COMEX, the trading hubs, which are losing legitimacy as we speak because they're playing the game of our stupidity of suppressing the price of gold and silver like a bunch of morons. And these contracts all have delivery mechanisms which nobody ever stood for my whole career. They are now, in a manner that is incredibly shrewd. Everyone says, well, why don't they just buy it all up? Because in the United States, instant gratification is not fast enough. No, they play the long game. They drain it, and then they drain it little by little by little by little. Then bang, one day we'll wake up and it's all gone. That's how it's going to happen. On a Friday night, on a Saturday night, you'll wake up to a new reality on a Monday morning, a delivery failure. It's gone. There is no more. They're playing the game because these countries are sophisticated, coordinated, motivated, wealthy as hell, and very shrewd. And they're playing the long game, and they're draining the world's exchanges right out from underneath us because our media is not just lame, they're pathetic. They don't do anything but create divisiveness. They don't tell us what's important. How many people even knew gold was on par with U.S. Treasuries and dollars if it weren't for guys like me screaming that it's a Tier 1 asset? Now, the only other one besides dollars and treasuries, think about that. Why would the most powerful bank in the world reclassify it Tier 1 and not a damn person know about it? And why would the central banks be buying it at a level the world has never seen? And how about all these banks repatriating? How about the Bank of India just brought back 100 metric tons from the Bank of England? They're holding all their gold now. Why? What does it have to do with? Think about a reset. Think about a reset and how it would manifest itself into establishing trust. Fed has it too. And in fact, you know, it's interesting. Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, if he gets confirmed, which I'm assuming he will, what's his largest holding? Anyone know? Gold. He has publicly said gold is his largest holding. And all what that would need to be done, as crazy as it sounds, would be for Trump to say to Scott, tell Jerome to revalue gold. No congressional approval needed, and bang, gold is revalued to a level sufficient enough to achieve what he wants to achieve. Now, this is not crazy, y'all. This is not crazy at all. In fact, every $4,000 increase in the price of gold would add $1 trillion free and clear to the Treasury General account. Free and clear. Now, I'm not the only one talking about this. We hear more and more and more people talking about this every single day. People at a much higher level than I am. But here's where it gets a little bit, and that would be, what if they valued it at 142,000 an ounce? Now, people would say that's impossible, and I agree, it's pretty unlikely, maybe. I mean, Bitcoin's over 100,000. Andy Hoffman, who used to write my newsletter, used to say to me, Andy, you need to buy Bitcoin, it's 400 bucks. I said, you're crazy, Andy, who wants that? I guess I was wrong. I guess a lot of people want it. I guess it's possible. But if they made it at 142,000 and just arbitrarily set it, all the central banks have been buying it, it would certainly benefit them, now wouldn't it? Immediately our balance sheet is offset completely, it's pristine at 142,000. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's something that should be thought about. What if they just let it get to that point? They stop suppressing it. None of us know what the real price of gold and silver is. None of us. They have been shorting gold and silver for so long, naked shorting. As an example, let's look at silver. In London right now, they have 800 million ounces on the LBMA, of which only 300 million are unencumbered. 500 million belong to the ETFs. They trade there's between 4 and 6 billion ounces short on paper. 95% are paper contracts. They say they trade 290 million ounces a day of the 300 million float. But they also say that those numbers are 10 times underestimated because they only post the final settlement numbers. That's 2.9 billion ounces a day of silver by these 8 or 9 Western banks, 3.5 times annual global mine supply every single day. Almost 3 times annual global mine supply every single day on COMEX. The prices are distorted. Rehypothecation on COMEX, 700, 800, 900, 1,800, 2,000% rehypothecated. That would mean if 20 of you all hold a contract for delivery and you all stand up to cash it in, if you're lucky, one will get the gold, the rest get cash settled, force majeure. It is a blow up of the system just like that. Could it happen? I bet it will. Don't know when, don't know how. Is it Bank of America? Is it? Ted Butler, God rest his soul, who's no longer with us, said they have 1 billion ounces short silver and between 35 and 45 million ounces short of gold in the OTC market, over the counter. Could it happen? I don't know. You tell me. But this has happened before, right? In 1933, when Roosevelt confiscated gold, he revalued gold. He paid everyone $20.56 for their $20 gold piece. 56 cents in 1933 was worth a lot more than it is today. A lot more. So people were psyched. Yeah, I got 56 cents extra. And then he revalued or devalued the dollar by 40%, making gold $35 overnight. It's happened before. It happened in 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window, but it happened by the market, right? It was 35 bucks an ounce in 1971 in August when Nixon closed the gold window, and it's 2,700 today. What would it be if they did not allow naked shorting on COMEX? What would it really be? A whole hell of a lot higher. If the central banks weren't the ones that were trying really hard to maintain the illusion of Western supremacy, well, you got to step on the price of gold because there's something called Gibson's paradox, which speaks to the inverse relationship between real interest rates and gold. And if you maintain a low interest rate environment for 20 plus years to create an illusion of prosperity, you better kill the canary. Step on the canary. And that's what all the Western banks did, right? They would naked short gold, take the proceeds and buy treasuries with it. Make the spread, keep the yields down, keep the price of gold down. But they've been discovered. These folks know what they're doing. But this time, they won't confiscate gold. They'll confiscate the ETFs. And how about this one? How many of you know this one? We all know J.P. Morgan paid a $920 million fine to the Justice Department for suppressing The metals market, right? The largest fine the Justice Department ever handed out, right? And the crazy part is they were always allowed to be the custodian of the world's largest silver trust, right? They made $1 billion that year, 3 years ago when they paid this fine, and paid a $920 million fine. They walked away $80 million up, and they're still allowed to be the custodian of the world's largest silver trust. But how many know this? You know what just happened recently? Somehow magically they took over for HSBC Bank and are now the custodian, along with BlackRock, of SLV and GLD. You want to confiscate gold? That's going to be a problem when most of the world promotes, even communist China endorses their people-owned gold. We're the land of the free, the home of the brave, the center of free trade in the world. Bunch of crap if we confiscate gold and silver, right? How about the ETFs, which the prospectus doesn't allow you to take the metal, and it's held by the criminal cartel bank that suppresses the price of gold and silver, and they come in on a Friday night. You wake up Monday morning, holy crap, they close those two accounts. But the money's in your money market account. Go ahead and buy whatever you want. The biggest cartel bank in the world, the one that suppresses the metal and distorts everything, is the custodian along with BlackRock. Now you revalue gold and silver. I will leave you with one last thing. Question everything. Question everything.